has fought 8 former world champions, defeating 5 of them, including the great Lennox Lewis. Want to say hello to everybody at secondsouth.com.au, all of my fans down under.
Well, it's interesting thing. You mentioned he beat Lennox Lewis. This is the only man in the history of the sport to have a victory over not both Lennox Lewis and Larry Holmes, who were arguably the last 2 really dominant heavyweight champions, at least for a long period of time in the heavyweight division.
Larry was at the end of his career at that point, but nevertheless, he gets the victory. This guy, Hopoate's hoping that he catches this guy at the end of his career. There he is, the former champion.
But Smitty, you will remember, obviously, that George Foreman at the heavyweight level did a pretty nice job at the age of 46, if I'm not mistaken.
Hey, I'm all for guys over 40.
I wonder why.
When the lights were down, guys, I think they need to take those down again. This should be a lot of fun, and again, welcome to our audience around the world on the web and right here in Las Vegas. We're going to take it up ringside with Jake Gutierrez.
Ladies and gentlemen, Crown Boxing, Frank Luca Matchmaker, in association with the Orleans Hotel and Casino, Budweiser, the Great American Lager, and Metro PCS is proud to present our featured bout of the evening. 10 rounds of boxing for the vacant IBA Continental Heavyweight Championship. This bout is sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. The chairman is Bill Brady. Commissioners are Skip Avancino Jr., John Bailey, TJ Day, and Pat Lundvall. And the executive director is Keith Kaiser. Our physicians at ringside. The lead is Dr. Anthony Ruggiero, assisted by Dr. David Watson and Dr. Michael Gunter. Our timekeepers are Ernie Howdigy and Toby Murray. The 3 judges who will be scoring this bout will be Dwayne Ford, Robert Hoyle, and Dave Moretti. And our referee in charge of the action, the fair but firm Joe Cortez. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the Orleans Hotel and Casino, right here in exciting Las Vegas, Nevada, it's time for the leather to fly. This is the main event. Introducing first, he'll be fighting out of the red corner. He entered the ring wearing the purple and white trunks, and he weighed in at 246 pounds. His professional record stands 11 victories, all 11 wins by knockout, with only 2 defeats. From Manly, New South Wales, Australia, presenting the Australian heavyweight champion, John Hopoate. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner. He's wearing the patriotic red, white, and blue, and he weighed in at 242 pounds. He has an outstanding record as a professional, 51 victories, only 9 defeats, with 36 big wins by knockout. From the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois, here is the former WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Oliver the Atomic Bull Mccall.
And that is a well-conditioned 44-year-old gentleman. It looks mean. He's come in peak condition. He's got that sweat going. I wouldn't want to be in the red corner right now.
You know, I sat with Oliver Mccall at Don King's house just a few months before he took on Lennox Lewis. We were watching Lennox Lewis fight Phil Jackson, and he told me at that time he would knock out Lennox Lewis with a right hand. He forecasted that fight over barbecue with Smitty at Don King's house. He's forecasting a victory over this Hopoate here tonight.
Boy, and no coincidence, he's wearing those red, white, and blue All-American trunks. I mean, this was the man that went to London, England, and brought the heavyweight title back to America. I think he's pouring it on a little bit tonight against his Australian opponent. A little psychological warfare going on there.
Not a lot of perspiration on Hopoate. He needed to have a better lather going before this, in my opinion.
Boy, and that's a good point, actually. I mean, you're going up against a puncher. You want to be loosened up. Hopoate already wearing Mccall's power here.
Well, you can see it right off the bat. Hopoate trying to use his physicality and kind of wrestle Oliver around, and that's not going to fly. You've got a guy, third guy in the ring, Joe Cortez, is not going to put up with any of that.
Yeah, looks very tentative. Look at Hopoate. He's already backing straight up. Big mistake.
If he was a piece of construction equipment, we'd be hearing that beeper.
And one thing about Hopoate, I mean, he was a rugby player, so wrestling's something that should be pretty natural to him.
And remember, he's already been knocked out in the first round once before by a gentleman, Ben Edwards, making his pro debut a couple of years ago.
And the one thing that's noteworthy about that, though, is Ben Edwards had, had an extensive amateur career going into that fight, though, so he was much more schooled. Even though he was making his pro debut, he had much more boxing experience than a former rugby player. Having said all that, the one thing we got to remember about Hopoate, he can punch. He's displayed that in his career, and if anybody has got a big punch, he's always got the puncher's chance. Although Oliver McCall's a man that's never been knocked out. He was stopped by Lennox Lewis, but that was the famous crying incident that you alluded to earlier.
And Hopoate is very, very physical, and you see he's using that lower body strength to kind of push Mccall against the ropes and take advantage. Mccall coming back with a nice left.
Yeah, both men are really in tune for this fight right now. They look like they're having a little fun in there, to be honest with you. And I'm a little impressed by how many people are out here cheering Hopoate on. I don't know how strong this contingency of Australians is out here, but they are certainly a loud group.
Well, the Australians having a great time, and what better trip than come to Las Vegas?
That's for sure.
I don't think it was hard to recruit media guys to come here.
Hopoate basically one punch at a time. Hasn't shown a nice looping right there. And that's his big punch, that looping right hand.
That is his money punch. You're absolutely right, Smitty. That's the punch that does the damage. That's the punch he took Mirovic out with to win the Australian title.
And that look, you can see that affected Mccall. I mean, he's a tough guy.
Nice jab by Oliver.
And Oliver would be very wise to invest in that jab, Smitty. That's actually, if you watch videotapes of Hopa, the one thing that he seems susceptible to more than anything is a good, strong jab. So Oliver Mccall, who has, a very good jab, would be wise to invest in it.
Hopoate has a bad habit of squaring up. Also, he drops his left hand when he throws his left jab, and Oliver should be able to counter that with that right hand. Ask Lennox Lewis about that right.
Another thing with Hopoate, sometimes when he throws that right hand, he kind of leans forward a little too much. The uppercut might be a key for him as well.
After a slow start to the first round, Hopoate acquitted himself rather well. One round in the books. You're watching a heavyweight IBA championship bout. Take a look at first round action. That was that loping right hand that Smitty you talked about. It takes a while to get there.
Yeah, it does. It looked like it came from down under. There it is again. That time Oliver picked it off with his shoulder. Hopoate, if he's going to go anywhere in this heavyweight division, needs to learn how to throw them one punch at a time.
Combinations get it done, and you're right, he's a one-punch specialist.
Now one side I will say, guys, he did have more success, I think, early on landing that punch that I expected. I still gave Mccall a slight edge in that round, but he doesn't want to be taking too many of those right hands, guys.
Nice looping right there, and that's his big punch, that looping right hand.
That is his money punch. You're absolutely right, Smitty. That's the punch that does the damage. That's the punch he took Mirovic out with to win the Australian title.
And that look, you can see that affected Mccall. I mean, he's a tough guy.
Nice jab by Oliver.
And Oliver would be very wise to invest in that jab, Smitty. That's actually, if you watch videotapes of Hopa, the one thing that he seems susceptible to more than anything is a good, strong jab. So Oliver Mccall, who has, a very good jab, would be wise to invest in it.
Hopoate has a bad habit of squaring up. Also, he drops his left hand when he throws his left jab, and Oliver should be able to counter that with that right hand. Ask Lennox Lewis about that right.
Another thing with Hopoate, sometimes when he throws that right hand, he kind of leans forward a little too much. The uppercut might be a key for him as well.
After a slow start to the first round, Hopoate acquitted himself rather well. One round in the books. You're watching a heavyweight IBA championship bout.